I'd like to welcome everybody to the August 18th, 2015 school board meeting. If you'd like to speak before the board during hearing of citizens, if you pick up a card in the back room, bring them up to the front to Zoe Marshall, and I will call you up at that time of the meeting. If you would please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
And I'm going to ask Mr. Scott Limpy to come forward and give us a status report on our readiness to open school.
Thank you very much, Superintendent White. Board members, Mr. Hardy. With me this afternoon is Kelly Ellington, our Director of all things related to professional development, to help talk about this. I guess this is the last board meeting before kids come back, so we thought it was a good time to give you an update on where we are relative to us being ready for those kids to come back. It's funny, I still have connections from my last life in the military, and my friends ask me all the time, so what are you guys doing this summer? Kids are gone, so there's nothing to do. It's really when a lot of our heavy lifting occurs, and so what we want to do this afternoon is just share with you what some of that heavy lifting looks like. And probably a good place to start is with people. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the hiring process, and then Kelly's going to talk about some of the staff development that happened over the summer. As you know, this year and probably for the next two, we have fairly significant turnover, particularly in our instructional staff, driven in part by changes in the FRS rules. But from now until summer of 17, we'll see quite a bit of turnover. As of Monday of this week, we have hired 200 new teachers for the start of this school year, almost exactly 200, and about 100 classified staff, again, for the start of this school year. We remain with about 64 instructional vacancies across the district. Most significant among them is ESE. About 23 of those vacancies are ESE. Hiring continues to happen every day, but the snapshot as of Monday was 64. That sounds like a big number, although I kind of did the math. If our instructional staff is about 2,700 teachers, that puts us about 98% staffed. So we do have some vacancies, but overall I think we're doing pretty well. Kelly?
So I asked Scott right about that time. Good afternoon, everyone, by the way, Superintendent, board members, and Mr. Hardy. So I said to Scott that might be a good time for us to show the slide of the professional learning that took place for those new hires. At last Wednesday, when we had our new teacher, new employee orientation, 181 of those folks had been officially hired and processed through HR. So they spent a whole day of training at Booker Middle School, and those are... I'm having trouble hearing you. Okay. Is this better? Okay, so they spent a whole day of training at Booker Middle School. Some of the topics are listed there. They learned about teacher evaluation, technology, arts integration, accountable talk, some of the things that are hot topics for us right now, having to do with curriculum instruction. Then Thursday, those folks all went to their school sites and worked with their mentors for a whole day. So we really feel like those new hires have been, we've started them off well for the year, and they'll continue to get support through the year, especially through their mentors. Professional development started way earlier than that. Early in the summer, we started with our summer school training. Curriculum and Pupil Support Services did a lot of training for summer school teachers, especially at the elementary level. There were some big changes in the curriculum, and they used the iReady program. So not only did the summer school teachers have that initial day of training like they traditionally do, but all throughout summer school it was built into their day to have collaborative planning time and additional training throughout the summer in order to learn how to use those reports, analyze the data, and inform their instruction. So there was STEM Smart training and new math textbook training, the Skip Mentor training, and then we had our summer institutes. A few of them were, the school teams attended this workshops, elementary level, middle level, and high level on the Florida Standards and Accountable Talk. That was in early June. Then we had a digital learning workshop at Venice High School. 130 teachers. These are interested teachers, just came, no payment or anything, just for in-service credit to learn more about our digital learning tools. Then we also had the Arts Integration League workshop that was June 16th through 18th. I think there were about 85 teachers who attended that. Some of them were from the league last year, and then we had a new batch join them. July 28th was our Summer Leadership Institute, and we had 178 school and district administrators attend that one-day institute. For the first time this summer, we off PDA through Fiddlers offered 4 online courses. Now those courses count towards the SWD hours, the hours that are required now with Senate Bill 1108. Every 5 years, teachers have to get 20 hours of courses that help with students with disabilities. So this was the first summer these were offered, and over 100 teachers participated, so we were happy about that. And then Pupil Support Services and Fiddler's work to offer some paraprofessional training for the aides who need the hours for ASD certification. So we asked NOM to run some numbers, and we think these look pretty impressive, but they're not even complete, so that's what's more impressive. So over 1,300 staff participated, 96 different courses offered. This is from June until 2 weeks ago, and almost 22,000 hours earned. The reason I say up till 2 weeks ago, because the next slide shows that in addition to these numbers, we had trainings last week and we're having trainings this week. Last week, there were iReady trainings and math trainings, Go Math trainings. I think the next slide shows how many teachers participated and what's expected this week. So those hours will all be added in, and really we can count those as summer professional development too. There were other departments. We know the custodians have a day of training. Transportation and food service all provided professional development. So, and those aren't reflected in the reports that NOM ran for us. So we feel like not only do we hire people who want to educate others, but we hire people who also know that learning is important for them to keep growing and improving. And I wanted to end with the technology training. These hours are reflected in NOM's report, but they offered online courses and face-to-face courses this summer, a lot of them, as you can see, and that was in addition to their rollout of the new active panels. And I think the last phase was maybe 400 panels, I think Joe just told us yesterday. So in addition to what you see listed there, the technology support personnel, they're walking through all the classrooms with the teachers this week to make sure they have that one-on-one assistance. So everybody, all the departments are really working together to provide the teachers and staff what they need.
Kelly won't say this either, but just know that this Summer Leadership Institute, the feedback we got from people who attended was maybe the best ever. It happened because Kelly made it happen. I mean, the heavy lifting happened by her. So, Kelly, thanks for making all that work. If we can come off the PowerPoint for a little bit. So, Kelly ended with IT. Let me talk about IT from a kind of an infrastructure perspective. Probably one of the biggest things that happened this summer is the replacement of computers as part of our 4-year replacement cycle at 11 of our schools. That replacement represents about 9,000 individual computers. We did the replacement at Atwater, Bayhaven, Cranberry, Inglewood, Taylor Ranch, Tuttle, Sarasota Middle, Venice Middle, Northport High, Oak Park, and Suncoast Polytechnical High School. So all of those schools today have all brand new equipment for both teachers and staff. Kelly mentioned the Active Panel project. We put in just over 500 active panels, the beginning of the replacement to the active boards. And we tried to be smart in places where we were doing renovations of buildings. Rather than going back in with an old active board, we added them to the active panel upgrade. So, but about 500 in total. Each of the TSPs at the schools go through about a 65-item checklist in every classroom in anticipation of teachers coming back, just to make sure that all their equipment is up and working. That has happened at every school. We've replaced some of the head-end equipment on our fiber ring with state-of-the-art head-end equipment, just to make sure that it's fast and reliable for those folks who use it. And the last thing I'll mention on technology, the new student information system. If I compare kind of the anecdotal feedback this summer from the previous summer, I will tell you that there has been light years of improvement in the student information system. And for me, there are really 3 key areas that I looked at this summer. Number one is fourth quarter report cards, because there's a lot of math there. It's the computation of GPA, it's the computation of credits earned and that kind of thing. Scheduling, what's happening at the schools relative to scheduling, and transcripts. And when you think about not only the quality of the data, but our ability to successfully manipulate that data, this summer looks completely different than last summer. It's not perfect yet, but we're in a much better place, I think, today than we were a year ago with our new student information system. Food service has done a number of things. Probably most notably this summer, they had a huge summer feeding program. They fed kids right up until the 14th of August. So this week is their get equipment back into the schools so we can serve our schools. That's going on now. Beverly is going to introduce some social media and food service, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we will use all of those to communicate not only with parents but students on things like, hey, there's a menu item today that you might like to try. So we're moving in that direction in food service pretty rapidly. We converted mylunchmoney.com to myschoolbucks.com. It's really just a name change, but for parents, if they notice, how come this doesn't look like it used to, it's because the software really just changed its names. She's working on filling some positions, obviously. Her training, and I think Kelly mentioned on one of her slides, started August the 13th. It will go through the start of the school year, with her big event being August the 20th. This is the day where she gets all of the food service team. I think she's going to hold it again at the Suncoast Academy, but our opportunity to get them all together. Charter school agreements are just about done. In fact, the board has voted on the vast majority of those already. We are adding one supper program this year. That'll be at Fruitville Elementary School. That'll bring our total to 14 schools that now have breakfast, lunch, and supper. And we're adding Tuttle back to our fresh fruit and vegetable program, so we'll now have 4 schools that have access to fresh fruit and vegetable. And I guess the last thing I'll mention in food service is online applications for free and reduced lunch. It's been live since kind of the beginning of this month, I think August the 5th or so. 600 or 700 or so families have already registered online, in addition to about 15,000 that qualify through direct certification. So we're already really down the road, and a real compliment to our schools, particularly our Title I schools, for making software and access and hardware available to parents so that they can do online applications at the schools. The schools themselves have really made that work. Switch functional areas a little bit, talk about transportation. Our current fleet is ready. All of our buses have been inspected and serviced and repaired, and they're ready to go. All of the routes are built. They are in the schools today. They're available on the website. Over the summer, we hired about 20 new drivers and a handful of attendants that will assist those drivers. And if I can bring the PowerPoint back up, I'll stay with the PowerPoint for just a minute. We bought 30 new buses this year. 28 of those buses have been delivered. The other 2 are waiting for GPS installation, and they'll be on the road just as soon as we get them. So the new fleet is ready. And the last thing I guess I'll mention, transportation. Their safety school started today. This is the mandatory training to keep your CDL. All started today. And I was out there at Riverview in the auditorium, and it was just a really enthusiastic, energetic group of people. So it was just kind of neat to see them all together. On the facility side, I want to show you some pictures of buildings, but before I go there, I want to comment on custodial. All of our deep cleaning happens in the summer. It is done. In fact, Mr. Dumas and his staff did all of their white glove inspections last week, so we knew the schools were ready. I'll tell you, I spent better part of a day with Lou Stecklin, who's the supervisor of custodians, just visiting schools and talking to the crews. And what you see out there in the schools relative to the cleanliness of the schools is just incredible. You ought to be very proud of it. We spent some time at Venice Elementary School, and when you walk on that campus, it feels today like the day it opened. And that's a function of 2 things. It's a function of a great custodial crew and a principal who understands their role, and they work very, very well together. So be real proud of the cleanliness of your schools. They are working right now real hard to get those campuses ready that had heavy summer lifting programs, probably most notably Oak Park and Alta Vista Elementary Schools. We rode those campuses pretty hard over the summer, lots and lots of kids right up to the end. And so today most of our effort is, and they'll be ready, but most of our effort today is on getting them ready. If I could have the PowerPoint back. I just want to hit the highlights of a couple of projects. This is the first of a multi-building renovation at Inglewood Elementary School. This is the courtyard of Building 4. If you visited Inglewood Elementary, you'll know that this used to be kind of a mud pit. It has some old rotten landscape timbers, pretty significant maintenance done in that courtyard. It's really, really pretty today. Most of the focus there was on classrooms, though, and here you can see inside one of the renovated classrooms. It was mostly an air conditioning project in Building 4, so there's all new air handlers and fresh air coming in. But as part of the renovation, fresh paint, new carpet, ceiling grids, and the lighting, you really can't see it here, but all the lighting in Building 4 today is LED. And it's amazing if you read something underneath those LED lights. Not only are they really, really economical to operate, but the light is just a really natural white light. So I think it'll help learning that way too. This is a funky picture, but I put it in here for a real different reason. This is one of the renovated bathrooms at Inglewood Elementary School, and I put it here because it has Jody Dumas's fingerprints all over it, and I don't mean that literally, but when you walk into this bathroom, you see low-flow toilets, you see occupants instead of lights, you see, notice that it's ceramic tiled all the way to the ceiling. That's so we can use the Kaivac and get our custodians in and out quickly. This has become our technical specification for bathrooms, and I credit our facilities department for making this change and making our bathrooms really, really efficient and effective to operate. This is year one of Pineview School's HVAC renovation. This year we really focused on the water side of the campus. That was chillers, thermal tanks, and all of the underground water, chilled water piping. Certainly the most invasive phase of this project was this year. If you were on this campus in July, it almost looked like a war zone. We had sidewalks cut and trenches dug for the chilled water, but it is all back to normal today. What you're looking at here are two 350-ton chillers that will be kind of the heartbeat of the new air conditioning system at Pineview. This is a bit tough to see, but in the background you can see a crane. He's flying an ice tank into our thermal storage field at Pineview. To the extent that we can do it, we rebuild those tanks, not replace them. It's a relatively simple and inexpensive process to rebuild. This is inside the pump house. All of the pumping stations associated with the chilled water are all brand new too, so the water side of this campus today is all new and ready to go. This is Alta Vista, the Butterfly building. As you drive onto the campus, it's the building that is on your right with a roof that kind of goes like this, a skateboard park for those kids that are smart enough to get on the roof. But a pretty major renovation of this building. This classroom is a teacher moving back in. That's why it looks like it does. But again, all new lighting. Those are LED lights that you see hanging from the ceiling there. This building, if you haven't been in it, has some really neat architecture, and it looks pretty good now that it is renovated. But new lights, paint, carpet, it just feels like a better school. I took this picture of the cabinetry because one of the things I wanted to highlight is note the cabinetry that's up against that wall there. It's all mobile. The only built-in cabinetry in this building now is the cabinet around the sink. Everything else is mobile on purpose. It's a bit less expensive, but it gives the teacher some flexibility, too, in moving his or her classroom around and using that cabinetry the way they want. This is from the hallway looking in. That doorway, including all that glass, the frame has all been replaced. It was old and not very well cared for over many, many, many years, so everything you see right there is new, the glass and the door frames, and et cetera. This is Sarasota High School from the air. For the start of this school year, you're not going to see a lot change at Sarasota High. You can kind of see right in the middle there that construction that's ongoing. That's the new gym. The building just to its left and top is Building 1. That's the building that we're converting from administration and media to media and cafeteria. We anticipate being able to turn both of those buildings over to the school over spring break, but for the start of this school year, this campus will look very much like it ended the year. This is the gymnasium under construction on a very wet, rainy day, but you can just see it kind of from ground level. Probably the thing that I'm most excited about this year, this is the new Bay Haven cafeteria, kitchen, and the classroom space that replaces our portables. Those of you who had an opportunity to be in the old Bay Haven kitchen cafeteria, you know what they came out of. This is approaching it kind of from the north side into the parking lot, what will be the front door of the media center. This is the new cafeteria. Looks quite a bit different than the old one. Chad Erickson has been a tremendous partner in this project. He was instrumental in picking the pictures. One of the things you see here is notice the floor. This is the first time that we've used polished concrete as the floor in a cafeteria. And they're able to trowel in that top layer of concrete the school colors. So it's a really, really pretty floor. You can see some of the sound deadening material in the back and the pictures that Chad was instrumental in picking. It's just a beautiful cafeteria compared to what they came out of. I don't know if you can see this real well, but they were able to inlay in the cafeteria. Those are silhouettes of manatees. This is the Bay Haven manatees, and so you can actually see them in the floor of the cafeteria. I thought that was a neat.
They didn't actually put the manatees in the floor.
Shh, shh. This is what Beverly's probably most excited about. This is the new kitchen. If you're familiar with the old kitchen looked like, there wasn't enough space to move back there. Frankly, that causes personnel problems when you're bumping into each other all the time, and so a beautiful state-of-the-art kitchen that Beverly's fingerprints are all over in terms of design. This is their media center prior to furniture, but you can see, if you remember, their old media center was in the center of the courtyard, that old building right in the middle of the courtyard. This is a much improved 21st century media center with LED lighting and all those things that make it feel like some of our other elementary schools. This is the new art room. Again, teacher moving in, so it looks like it's not ready. This picture is about 2 weeks old, but the art room used to be in that little old building that sat right at the end of the new two-story classroom wing. We've moved art now into the same building where the stage is. Makes a lot of sense. And this is the hallway into the second floor, which, remember, there were 6 portables on this campus. They have a pretty fixed enrollment. So as part of this project, we put 6 classrooms on the upstairs of what is today the media center. All of those portables are now gone, so Bay Haven is a portable-free campus. This is really neat. I'm going to show you two views of this. Remember, their courtyard used to be full of a media center, a cafeteria kitchen, and then all that big, ugly blue wooden ramp that got you from one level to the next. This is their courtyard today. It's 2 levels. What you're looking at here is kind of the back of the historic 1926 building, the upper level. So if you'd walk through that gate that's at the front of the office, you'd walk onto that upper level. And then if you're at the media center end of the campus and looking up the courtyard, this is what you see. Think about what that courtyard looked like. Just a dramatic improvement on this campus with this one relatively small project. This is their playground. Again, this is about 2 weeks old, so the playground is ready, but the playground now sits on the site of where those portables used to be. So in terms of available space, this new building really didn't cost the school anything, and they gained that spectacular courtyard. Number of things we did relative to safety and security. This is Toledo Blade's front door. Remember, Toledo Blade, like Emma Booker, has that big breezeway that you can just walk through. What we want to do is put a fence across that breezeway and control visitor access. In order to do that, though, you really need 2 front doors. You need one into the office and then one out on the other side. So what we did over the summer is replace that curtain wall area there, and we'll eventually put a fence right in the middle of that curtain wall. But you can see now that there's a door into the office, the one that's closest to you in the photo, and then there's a single door out that will be prox controlled. So to get onto the campus, you'll need permission from the front office, electronically buzzed through. This is Ashton Elementary School. Again, if you remember Ashton, when you walked in the front door, there was a great big wide hallway that just took you to their media center, and there was really no control. Reception was kind of off to the side, so we pulled the reception desk right up to where those 2 guys are standing, and you can see that storefront door that stops you before you get to the hallway. So it feels a bit more like Cranberry Elementary School does today, and we can control access onto the campus. And this is a great picture. I'm going to use it against him, but see the guy leaning against the wall with the Starbucks coffee cup? That's Jody Dumas. And I told him I was going to tell the board I caught him doing what he usually does. That's Jody. We did a number of fencing projects. This is Oak Park. We had some fencing issues at Oak Park, and of course we want to make sure that not only are the kids safe from intruders, but they're safe from being able to get off that campus unless we know they're doing it. So some 6-foot and some 8-foot fencing around the perimeter of that school just to make that campus a bit safer. This is a fencing project that was completed at Booker High. One of the things we didn't do as part of this project is seal the campus from the custodial side. This is going into the back of the football field from the south end, 32nd Street, I think, what's there. So now that's all. There's fence all the way around there with a gate, so we can secure the athletic fields as well as the school itself. And then this is my last picture, I think, but this is Myrtle Avenue. It's really tough to see, but up there, probably 50 yards, is a flashing school zone sign. This is really in response to a citizen concern. Last year, we got contacted by a citizen who said, hey, I think Myrtle Avenue is a dangerous place to walk. The kids who go to Booker Middle, some of them walk on Myrtle Avenue. It's really not marked very well. There's heavy truck traffic, as you know, on that road. And so Daryl Reicha, your security director, worked with the county, and we have now solar-powered flashing school zone signs that are on Myrtle Avenue that will alert people to the crossings there. What else did I? Oh, well, I'm on the topic of crossings. Also, there are 3 schools in our district: Laurel, Nokomis, Venice Middle, and Riverview, that always had oddball speed zone speeds. Everywhere else in the district was 15 miles an hour, except for those schools. Riverview, for example, was 25. We worked with the municipal governments, and at all 3 of those schools today, the speed limits are 15 miles an hour. So we think we've just made it more obvious what the speeds are in all of our zones, and they're marked today. I saw Riverview just this morning. A couple of things relative to security cameras and the upgrade of the equipment that supports them, most notably at McIntosh Middle School in Brookside. And our school resource officer contracts are ready to come to the board. We'll probably have them on your September 1st agenda. So I guess the last slide I wanted to show, if you guys can come back to the PowerPoint for a second. This is a 2-purpose slide. I asked myself, why is it that people work this hard over the summer? It's because there's a whole lot of kids out there that are depending on us to do this kind of stuff. Just by the way, those are my 4 grandsons. So I've been looking for a way to get them into a PowerPoint presentation. But it really is what motivates you to do this. So Lori talked at the Leadership Institute about connecting to the meaning of your work. It's the kids that make all this fun to do. So, and with that, I will entertain any questions you may have.
Ms. Brown?
Yes, I know that you weren't the only one busy all summer, especially the last couple of weeks. The schools have been busy with all the teachers that are in there getting their classroom set up.
Right.
Now, they didn't go on the clock until yesterday, but a lot of them, I know I was there last week, even though the air conditioning wasn't on in the schools, but the teachers were there and the parking lots were full at every school I passed of teachers there getting their rooms set up. And I really appreciate all you do to make things look good for our schools. But I know I walked into Philippi Shores and I looked at it. I said, "Oh my God, look at this floor! It looks like glass." But they put those schools into great shape for those teachers, and it looks better than it ever has.
Sure.
And thank you for doing all those things.
A great head custodian is what makes that happen. Let me comment on the air for a minute. This time of year, we don't play hardball in air conditioning. If a principal calls us and says, "Hey, I want to do something the Friday of the week before teachers come back," we're always flexible. This coming up weekend, we generally say to the schools, if teachers need the weekend between when teachers come back and when kids come back, let us know. So we're real proud of our energy program, but there's a point where you say it can't impact teachers or kids.
All right, so if they shut the air off at 3 o'clock, the principal wanted everyone to go home.
Yeah.
I just want you touched real briefly on Sarasota High School, and as a Ram, I almost even hate to say this, but I went by there the other day on Bay Vista, and the curb appeal of that school off of Bay Vista is absolutely incredible. So appreciate all your effort on that and with getting our. And I guess since your topic was back to school readiness, did you answer that? Are we ready?
We're ready.
Good deal.
There are. Talk about Sarasota High. I agree with you. I think now, remember one of our goals, and there were several, but one of them was to give that school a noticeable front door, and we clearly did that. Two people I think were really key in making all that happen, though. Paul Pitcher, who is your project manager there, and Nathan Renner, who's kind of been the lead for Tandem Construction. Just a great, great team of people. That's what makes it all happen. The amount of work that went into the finish of that school, you almost had to see it as they were going through the steps. But, they took the old stucco off that building with hand chisel and then went back. I mean, the level of effort that went into taking that building back to the way it looked like in 1959 was tremendous. But I agree with you. It's beautiful.
I mean, it looks better than, I was there in the 70s when we would play them. And, I mean, it didn't look that good then. I mean, it hasn't looked that good in probably almost my lifetime. So kudos
Thank you
on
very
that.
much.
That concludes the superintendent's report.
We'll move on to hearing of citizens. I have no cards. Can I have a motion on the consent agenda, please?
I move for approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? You would vote, please. And the consent agenda passes 5-0. Could I have a motion, please, on item 27?
I would move that the agreement between Audi of America, Inc. and the School Board of Sarasota County, Florida be approved as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Dr. Bowden, I believe you have a presentation on this. Also, if you could, when you're doing this, if you might make a little mention of the Yamaha outboard program that's also on tonight's consent agenda.
Well, we've got some real exciting news happening down at the Technical College. I think we'll use the term return on investment. The huge investment that you've made in technical education has not gone without notice. As you commented, we have not one but two agreements with international companies to work with us in training entry-level employees for their chosen occupation. And a lot of that has to do with the mindset of Sarasota County. We are a willing partner with excellent facilities and enthusiastic business support. So in addition to the Audi of America contract that we're talking about specifically on the consent agenda, you see a contract from Yamaha to work with our marine mechanics program. And we certainly don't want that to go without mention. Specifically, the Audi of America contract has established an educational partnership program to help meet the growing and projected future need for dealership technicians. The purpose of the program is to attract skilled technicians to the Audi brand dealerships across the country. This program was established to provide some basic tools and equipment to schools so that they can feature these in their basic automotive level program. The goal of the program is to increase awareness of the Audi brand among students in the automotive program and at participating schools. And to tell you how exclusive this is, we're number 3 in the country with a targeted goal of signing up 12 schools. So we're certainly leading on this initiative. What the agreement calls for is that Audi will provide access to online training by way of their Academy Certification Resource Center. They'll provide access to the self-study program app for iPads, promotional posters, subscription to their scan tool software, subscription to their repair manuals online, and invitations to open houses for our staff and students, as well as tools and equipment and the right to call ourselves an Audi education partner. And we've begun to use that in anticipation of tonight's approval and are getting a tremendous response from our students. We have agreed in exchange that we will provide Audi a list of our students with their consent. We agree to host multiple job fairs throughout the year, with one of those being exclusive to Audi, that at least one of our instructors will attend Audi training for a 2-day period, and that 5 students will enter into employment with Audi, so we have a benchmark that we're working from. If you believe that an institution is judged by the company that you keep, I don't think there's any way to judge us than keeping company with Yamaha and Audi. We have some folks here from Audi of America, as well as our local dealer. I'd like for Kirk Preeser to join me at the podium. He is the Area General Manager of Audi of America for the Southern region. And he's going to talk to you a little bit about the why. I've talked to you about what the agreement entails, and he'll let you know a little bit about Audi's motivation.
Good afternoon, everyone. As the son of 2 public school teachers and having 4 children that are in the public school system, I value your time and appreciate everything that you do. So I'm honored to be here today to talk to you about this really historic partnership. This is something that we really began about 3 years ago. The American automotive market is really kind of awakening to the Audi brand. Most people don't realize that we're actually number 2 in the world as far as luxury automobile manufacturers, just behind BMW and ahead of Mercedes. But it took us 40 years to sell 100,000 cars a year in the United States, which was significantly longer than some of our main competitors. But the good news for us, like I said, there's an American renaissance and awakening to the Audi brand, and it's only going to take us 5 years to sell our second 100,000. So in 2010, we sold 100,000 cars, and at the end of this year, we're going to sell 200,000 cars, which is a historic accomplishment. But along with that comes some challenges, as you can imagine, and part of that is servicing all of these automobiles that we're putting into the marketplace. And the Audi brand, if you're familiar with it, is very technologically based, very progressive. We came to the market as the pioneer of the LED lighting technology, so we were one of the first to bring that to market. We were one of the first to bring the piloted driving, the automatic piloted driving cars to market as well, very technologically based. And we're bringing some new vehicles to the market now, which is going to be essentially a digital dashboard. So what we need is we need to find the best and the brightest. Currently we have about 2,900 technicians nationally, and our expectation is by the end of next year we're going to need 4,500 technicians nationally to satisfy the increase in new car sales over the last couple of years. So about 3 years ago, we recognized that we were going to have this dramatic need for technicians, and we started trying to figure out what the best way was to actually go out and source those technicians. One way was obviously to go to other brands and try to recruit their technicians, but what we want to do is grow our technicians. And what we've also found is that we have the greatest likelihood of maintaining a technician with a dealership if he's local. And so for us, the way we wanted to go about it was going out into the marketplace and finding schools that we could partner with that were local to our dealerships so that we could recruit young talent and keep them at the dealership level. And so we're excited about this partnership. We're bringing about $70,000 to each individual school in the form of tools, software, training materials, and then a vehicle. So we're going to be providing at least one vehicle to every school that we partner with. Chances are it's probably going to be a 2015 A3 model. We're also going to be providing some engine cores in certain instances, and like I said, some other tools and training applications and stuff like that. This is, as was mentioned, the third deal in the country. We're looking for about 12 schools nationwide, and we've got a couple of schools here in Florida that we've targeted. This school obviously is one of the best in the state. That's why I'm here, and so we're really excited about this opportunity. So with that, I guess I'm going to open it up to any questions that you might have for me.
Ms. Goodwin?
Well, I just wanted to say that I'd like first dibs on the Audi when it arrives. I'll be glad to test drive it and check it out for you and drive it all over the county to our different schools and so forth.
I have one in the parking lot.
Oh, okay, great. I just want to say that this is great. You know, this is what we really need to excite students about the opportunities in automotive, and we all know how that whole marketplace has changed. I mean, it's mind-boggling to see how cars are maintained today as compared to, several years ago. But I just think this is wonderful. Partnerships are so important in our community, and, we think that we have the best technical college around, and you certainly are helping us to make sure that other folks in our community recognize that as well. But we are thoroughly happy, impressed, and thankful that we have this deal. Thank you, Dr. Bowden, for your work on this. I really think that this will be a great way to encourage new students. Women and men alike now
Absolutely.
are getting into the market, which makes me happy. I just saw a young woman doing a YouTube video for how to repair a new car, and how excited she is to be in that industry and so forth. So I think it's a great opportunity for our students, and you probably have quite a nice career path for students that go into the entry level and continue.
Absolutely. A lot of people don't realize that the job of a technician has changed from what it once was. It's not only is it a valued position, one at the dealership that Mark will attest to, as far as the need for technicians, but as far as career path and earning potential, we have many technicians out there that are earning six figures plus. I mean, so this is not the technician that a lot of people think of. This is a very viable career path. And it's one that where not only do you need a mechanical ability to be able to work on cars, but from the computer and the technology standpoint. And so that's why we're going out and trying to find the best and the brightest students at the best schools that are teaching a combination of both, because they have to have the ability to understand the mechanics of a car and work on a car, but understand the technology as well. And like I said, it's a very lucrative career path, and we're glad that students are kind of waking up to that. So thank you very much. We're proud to be a part of it.
Mrs. Brown?
When we're talking about the students that are going to be in this program, what are we talking about? High school students that will be in this program, or are there going to be adults in the program?
We're specifically targeting our adult students.
Adult students. And then while you're there, Todd, perhaps you can answer this one.
Yes, our high school students end up enrolled in adult programs. They complete an 8-course sequence as a high school student, but then they complete as adults. So all of our students will have access to the program.
And perhaps you can clear up. I didn't start this rumor, but I heard it, that you're going to be auditioning to replace the man who died on Car Talk on Saturday mornings, PBS.
Not me personally, but I do have a nominee in the audience. I don't know if you recognize Javier Brito, our automotive instructor, but I do believe that once upon a time he did have his own television show in Sarasota.
Well, on behalf of the board, I very much appreciate you investing in our workforce and in our community. And I first was exposed to that campus over there back when it was called a couple other things, back in the 60s and the 70s. What marine mechanics and auto mechanics and everybody had to work on over there was basically leftover junk that wouldn't run anymore. So to see such a 180, to have such great equipment over there, brand new Yamaha outboards and an Audi A3 and a Corvette I thought it was yours or Scott's, but I understand it fell off of a carrier or a.
Got a total of 12 miles on it, yes, sir.
So maybe you and I could take that A3 and that Corvette out in the parking lot and see who wins.
I get the A3.
But again, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
May I introduce a couple other people?
Absolutely.
We have Mark Cobb with us from our local Audi dealer. Matter of fact, if you get just the right angle through the window there, you can see his dealership across the street. And they have a beautiful, beautiful facility under construction on Clark Road. I've mentioned Javier Brito, our automotive technology instructor. He's the direct beneficiary. He gets all these toys in his classrooms to share his passion with his students. And this certainly would not happen without the efforts of Chuck Drake, who's our program manager for industrial education. And I can tell you that our industrial education programs are making a renaissance at the technical college under Mr. Drake's leadership.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on item 27. If any further discussion? If you would vote, please. And that passes 5-0. If I could have a motion on item 28, please.
Oh. Jane.
Somebody besides Caroline.
Approval of the amendment of interagency agreement between the Jewish Family and Children's Services of Sarasota, Manatee, Inc., and the School Board of Sarasota County, Florida.
Second.
Discussion, Mrs. Zucker?
Yes, I have to abstain from voting on this as I'm a part-time employee of JFCS.
Any further discussion? If you would vote, please. And that passes 4-0 with Ms. Zucker abstaining. Do we have any, what do we call it? Comments or announcements?
Well, just that school is starting next week and on Monday. And when those buses are out there with their stop signs, you have to stop in both directions unless you're on a divided highway with a median in the middle. So make sure we keep those kids safe and in the early morning on those roads that don't have sidewalks. Watch out for our kids.
Ms. Goodwin?
Well, I had a comment about buses as well. You know, it was in 1939 that we started painting buses yellow.
I wasn't alive then.
And it is Pantone color number National School Bus Yellow is the color name of that. I don't think anyone's ever used that in a home or on a house, but at any rate, I just thought you all would, Scott, you in particular, would like that interesting bit of trivia. But please be careful in a school zone. If it says 15, please, to our public who are watching us on television and others, please make sure that you're careful, particularly in the first few weeks of school, because we want to make sure that our students are safe, that our school buses are safe, and I think everybody's ready to go back to school. I've talked to a number of people, teachers, students, parents, and they all say, yes, we're really ready to go. So it's going to be a great year. I know it's going to be a great year.
Our next regularly scheduled board meeting will be September the 1st, 2015 at 6:30. We're adjourned.